Hello and welcome back to Council Watch. And we've had a nice public meeting held in Witton Hall, actually, south of the bridge. Unusual, but that went across quite well, I thought. And then we had two of our council meetings. Now, before I start, there's no bad behaviour or anything like that, but some of the subject matter was a bit odd. The Town Hall project and the Marina project. So we've got the Marina Theatre that's being done up. It costs quite a lot of money to do it, and it's a very complicated and long-winded project, and that seems to be sort of running ahead. And there's obviously the Town Hall project, and no matter what you think about the Town Hall project, it's pretty complex. And the project managers for these two things report back to the meetings about that particular thing. They're often a bit dull, and obviously an awful lot of stuff in them has to be confidential because it's all contractual. But that wasn't what was the matter with this meeting. It was a bit odd. Sadly, it involves my favourite councillor, Wendy Brooks. And she managed to put an item on the agenda for both of these. And I didn't really think much of it at the time, but then suddenly it occurred to me that what she's doing is having yet another pop at the mayor. Now, no matter what you think of the mayor, I happen to think she's done a reasonably decent job, actually, but whatever you think of the mayor, Wendy's given her a bit of a hard time throughout the year. I don't think any of it justified, but that's a different thing. But in this particular meeting, Wendy has done her favourite thing. Now, most normal people, if you've got a beef, you tend to organise things a bit privately. Maybe you speak in private about something. Maybe you even take some sort of action, almost in private. Feeling a bit sort of, I've got to complain, but I don't want to make a big fuss about it. No, not so Wendy. She just steams in, totally unaware that people just take an intake of breath and wonder, what is she doing? Well, if you remember in the past, when our current mayor got elected, almost in the first meeting, Wendy objected to her because she thought that someone who was in business who had no place being the mayor. I happen to think completely the opposite. Someone who's in business has probably got lots of essential qualities for being a mayor. As it happens, my politics is totally different from Nasima's, but I don't think that matters. The mayor needs to be the sort of person who can do certain things. And very importantly, the mayor needs to be a person who can accept responsibility. And with responsibility come consequences. And luckily, Wendy's quest to sort of get her ousted at the start because she was in business sort of fell flat on its face, as it should have done. And we continue for the year. And we're nearly at the end of the year. And I think it's the end of the year thing that spurred Wendy to sort of have a bit of a pop again. She's done pretty well in the interim period. She appears to have complained about the acting town clerk, who is the most senior person on the council. She's complained about the mayor. She's doing pretty well, really. So what's she done? Well, the first meeting I watched, the first agenda item came up, and we got this.
160, to consider the terms of reference of this committee. I'm not sure what this is about.
Councillor Brooks asked.
Oh, Councillor Brooks.
Sorry?
Terms of reference for this committee, you wanted it on.
Was reading Sheila's report. Sorry. Yes. For some reason, the terms of reference, I wasn't happy with it at the time. The terms of reference state the mayor automatically becomes chair of this committee. Apart from believing that actually our standing orders actually state the committees themselves choose the chair, which I think is the right way forward, that the committee itself chooses the chair. We also have an issue that it was certainly true this year, but sometimes the mayor has had nothing to do with the town hall project until they're elected. I just think we should change it. It might be that whoever's the mayor ends up being the chair, but I think they should be elected by the committee. That's my proposal. We change our terms of reference to say either just delete the chair of the committee. We do it in the way the whole council, every committee elects its chair. At the moment, the way the committees choose their chairs are at full council at the AGM. I think that's wrong as well, which I'll challenge, but I doubt I'll get approval on that one. So I think we just go along with whatever council procedure is, that whoever is going to be chair of this committee is decided in the same way that the chairs of the standing committees are decided.
Thank you. Councillor Colby.
You understand where you're coming from, Wendy, democracy-wise. The only thing I would say is, from my understanding, when this all came about, the mayor was chosen because they were the figurehead of the council, and these are two major projects that actually you want that person to be the public-facing and the board person who actually speaks on the project. And I think that's part of the reason for it. I have no objections to changing the standing orders, but I don't think it would actually really make an awful lot of difference, because I think even if you change the standing orders, the mayor would probably still be the person elected by most of their fellows. And it also becomes a situation where only the individuals, I would think, only the council members on the committee would actually be able to vote on the chair, because otherwise someone could elect a chair who isn't actually a council member, and you could actually then run into problems.
Councillor Brooks.
Well, I know the rationale, but it actually goes against the spirit of the town council, which is an egalitarian setup. The idea that is boosting one particular person. I never bought into the idea they're the civic face and therefore they have to do it. That's not democracy. I think that we should, I also think when I read standing orders recently, unfortunately the meeting yesterday was cancelled, so I couldn't ring this one up. Our standing orders say nothing about electing the chairs of the standing committees at the AGM. They say the committee will elect them. That's actually what standing orders say. We've never done it. But since, you know, it's always been done it's always been done at the AGM, but the actual standing orders don't say that. So that would need a change. I stick by I think we should delete, the mayor will be chair of the town hall project. And we said we don't need it. In terms of reference, we elect chairs in the same way as the rest of the council does. I don't buy the idea that it's a civic face and all the rest of it.
I think my issue with that would be that obviously when it's a big project like this, and you know, for example, say Lowestoft Journal want a comment, they will go to the mayor for the comment. If you no, but it's under my name or the mayor's name, the comments. If we have a separate chair of the committee, then that chair of the committee won't be asked for a comment. It would be the mayor that's asked for the comment. Councillor Barker.
Yeah, I mean, to me as well, something that is not always seen here is behind the scenes, and often at the end of the meeting, it's the mayor or deputy mayor, if they deputise, that signs all the things to do with the finance, all the different things that are done, which aren't always seen by other members of the council, because you are seen as, although you're egalitarian in that you're you know, we're all in this together and all that sort of side of things. When it comes to it, it's not just any member who signs those things. It is the mayor or the deputy mayor in their absence, and you do have a responsibility in that role to be, whether you like it or not, you are viewed as the civic person that does that. Otherwise, you'd have anybody signing it. You know,
you can't. So
but you can't. So
that documents have to be signed by the mayor.
By the mayor, exactly. So there is that element to it. That's what I'm trying to say. That financially, and the responsibility falls on the shoulders of the person who's elected as mayor. So, you know, I can see both sides of this, but in the end, it is the mayor or deputy mayor who ends up signing.
I think we have to look at it like full council. Full council couldn't be chaired by somebody who's not the chair, the mayor. That's just. You know, so the project committees are similar to that sense. Okay, Councillor Brooks.
Well, it's not similar to full council at all. It's a committee. It's a standing committee. And therefore the chair should be elected the same way as every other chair is. On climate emergency, we have non-councillor members as well. I'll be making the same arguments for the marina as well. I did raise a while ago, actually, the issue that councillors are actually not recognised at all for the role they play on Lowestoft Town Council. There's been several projects I've been involved in and I don't get a mention. I'm not saying it's just about me. There are other councillors as well have been involved in things. They never get a mention. That's not true of other councils. Other councillors on East Suffolk and Suffolk County Council are allowed a voice. We don't have one now. We used to have one when Guy Campbell was doing stuff. We don't have one now. Everything is either from the office or the mayor said. And I know the mayor didn't say it. I know it was said by the office. But I just think you're just... It just seems so antiquated, the idea that somehow, I mean, Sonia obviously has a bit of a predetermination on this one, having been the mayor.
I think that's a fair comment, Councillor
Well,
Brooks. Can we
well,
try
I'm
and keep
allowed
the
to make, I think
facts?
she does have. She
Okay,
sees
but-
the mayor in a particular way. I said a bit of, I didn't say she was.
Okay, but let's keep to your own opinion.
Well, I stand by my point. I think this committee should elect. I think this committee should
but
elect its chair, but in the interim, we should remove it from the terms of reference,
Sure,
and that's
yeah,
my
if I could
point.
get
Not
So
going
if
to
I
say.
can intervene on a correction, please. So Standing Order 4G does confirm that full council elects the chairs to committees.
Contradict something else that comes later.
Councillor Barker.
Yeah, firstly, I mean, I would have hoped that anybody who knows me and the work I've done on this council, if I am predetermined, I don't take part in a meeting, which I've done in the past. I've stood outside. So I am not predetermined at all. And I would agree, it's the experience which often, it reminds me of the iceberg idea that, you know, people publicly or even in this council chamber see the iceberg. 2/3 of the iceberg is underneath the sea surface. That is the work that is done by the officers and by people who are chairs as well of committees. But something that Councillor Brooks mentioned about, I totally agree with her. Local democracy is not shown in local newspapers. That, I'm afraid, has gone away with the demise of having reporters at meetings, and we used to have a lot of reporters come along. Sadly, that is where I think you would pick up individual councillors who do things. That sadly is due to the way digital advertising has occurred and newspapers are consolidated. So it's more to do with that, I think, rather than saying, well, you know, everybody's predetermined or everybody,
I
it
think
all
we're
goes through the
going off
office.
on a bit of a tangent here.
Yeah,
Could
but
we
it's-
keep to the discussion, which is
That's
Councillor Brooks, in terms of reference, Councillor
Yeah.
Brooks would like it not to be automatically the
yeah.
mayor.
Well, I think on balance, it should stay the same as it is now. That's what I'm saying.
Thank you. Councillor Colby?
I don't know. I mean, the thing is, Wendy's made a proposal. The question is whether there's going to be a second or not, to see whether it actually goes forward.
Yeah.
I'm not predisposed in any way to it, because in some ways, Wendy, I do agree with you that sometimes we could direct things to someone who's dealing with something rather than necessarily to the mayor. And that has happened in the past. So that's just a case of thinking about it. And there wouldn't be a problem with that, I can't see. But that's not actually on this topic as
No.
such.
No.
But I must admit, I'm not happy to second it, Wendy, I'm afraid. So
I didn't expect you to.
So is anyone willing to second Councillor Brooks's proposal? No. Okay, so at the moment it will stay as is.
Took a long while to get there, but of course nobody even seconded it. It didn't even go to a vote. The thing that I think quite a lot of people missed the point on here, though, is that the town hall project involves an awful lot of money. And if you remember in one previous meeting, they were actually talking about millions of pounds extra and how to get hold of it. So, you know, we're not talking about sort of small change, are we? We're talking about millions of quid. We're talking about taking out loans. we're talking about getting funding. Now, realistically, if that was to go horribly wrong, I mean, let's imagine a scenario where you've actually borrowed a few £1 million for a project and something happened. I don't know, the builders discover a huge great hole underneath the town hall. It's likely to fall into it and the building has to sort of be demolished. Well, what about all the loans? You know, somebody on the council has to take responsibility for signing that loan document. And hopefully, and normally, it goes well. But what happened if it didn't? The way things are done nowadays, if something horrible in public goes wrong, then heads have got to roll. The press get involved, TV gets involved, everybody's getting really cross about it, and they want a person. And the person they're going to go after is the mayor. And the poor mayor takes the responsibility. You know, in our council, depending on what it is, it's either going to be the acting town clerk or it's going to be the mayor that have the legal responsibility for problems like this. You know, they seem to have forgotten that. In all the other committees, you can have a chair who's absolutely useless. Doesn't matter. You can have a chair who's really on the ball and it really helps things move forward. But that chair has got very little responsibility. If that chair is not the person who has to carry the can, then it's very, very different. So our council do the very sensible thing of putting the mayor in as the chair of a meeting for things that have importance, the vital stuff. And they seem to have forgotten that in this meeting. So Wendy has objected to the mayor being the automatic chair, when in actual fact, that's the only solution. Let's say that somebody else wants to be the chair of the town hall project. Well, the person who signed it off, as in Nasima Begum, she's no longer the chair of the meeting and someone else is doing it. If that chair then makes a bit of a hash of something, who's going to get the blame? Not that chair, the person who signed the form gets the blame. That's the problem. So if things are critical, you get the two people in charge to do it properly. Because with the responsibility that they've got, the consequences can follow. So I just don't understand why this was even sort of an agenda item. I suppose because Wendy asked for it to be put on the agenda. And, of course, nobody voted for it. The next meeting was the Marina project. And guess what? Exactly the same thing happened.
127, to consider the terms of reference of this committee. Councillor Brooks.
Yes, I put this item on the agenda. The current terms of reference say that the mayor will automatically become the chair of this committee. I've refined my line since this morning when I put the same objection to the Marina Theatre, only slightly.
Town hall.
In
Town hall.
Town hall, sorry. So in line with the way that other chairs are elected, I think it should be done that we should elect the chair of this committee in the same way that chairs are elected for our other full committees, full committees. I see. We could end up next year and have a completely new mayor, who might not have shown very much interest in the Marina Theatre at all. I just think we should just elect them in the way that which is anyone can stand, basically. That's just my opinion.
Okay. Does anybody have anything to say? Councillor Colby?
I guess I have to kind of come back with what I said this morning, Wendy, is that I believe the reason behind this was because the mayor is the kind of titular head of the council and signs the legal documents, things like that. And that was the reason why it was originally put to being that way, because they are actually, it's a major project, and therefore we wanted to recognise the level of the project.
Councillor Brooks?
Quick question. How many financial documents does the mayor sign for this committee?
All
The
funding
current-
agreements.
All of them.
All of them. Well, the
Yeah.
chair of F&G signs
both
as
sign.
well,
Two
twice.
sides.
That's elected by full council. I don't see why being the mayor means, I don't accept Neil's argument, basically. I think it should be open to any councillor to put themselves forward to be chair of this committee.
If a different chair is elected, they wouldn't be able to sign the documents. It has to be because it has to be the chair of the council and the chair of F&G that signs the legal documents. So you'd have, what you're saying, you'd have a chair of this committee, if it's two separate, and then the mayor would sign the documents on behalf of the committee. It's just creating another role. Andy.
Personal view is that the council meeting.
Microphone, please.
Oh, sorry. So the meetings that you have within council members, I get it, and it's I can understand that that's the way that it works. From an outsider's perspective, given that this includes people from other agencies and other companies, we welcome the opportunity of actually having the mayor chair the meeting. It provides some consistency. It gives some heft to the, not physical heft, obviously, but it gives some heft to the presence of the council, and we very much appreciate having the mayor chair it. So
The mayor changes every year.
Councillor Barker?
As I said this morning with the town hall project, I think on balance, I agree that with the experience I've had as mayor and the look at it on balance, I think the status quo is the best way forward.
Okay, so Councillor Brooks's proposal is to change that. Did you want to say something else?
Well, I do. I think people are overlooking the fact that the chair is the mayor changes annually, usually. So there isn't really going to be much continuation.
possibly, but we get a year of someone consistently managing the meeting, which is part of the job of the chair. And given that the chair, I understand, signs all the documents, it makes sense to me that that person remains at the helm and chairs the meetings. But like I say, it's just a personal view rather than.
Okay, so the proposal is that we change it. Does anybody want to second Councillor Brooks' proposal? No? Okay, so it remains as is. Thank you.
So there we go. 2 attempts to get rid of the mayor from chairing 2 important committees, and both rejected. Interestingly, it wasn't just Neil Colby who was talking sense there. Most of the other participants sort of came in and said important things too. It was a bit odd that even someone who's actually not a councillor who was on the committee also said the same things from the perspective of an outside person. You know, these things are just so silly and they really need to be sort of headed off at the pass. But I guess she's entitled to sort of get agenda items put on. And of course, one of her complaints, I think, from the past few meetings was that why hasn't her agenda item made it to the list? And I note now that her agenda items do make the list. I wish they didn't, because they're complete wastes of the committee's time, but she doesn't get it. It's rather sad. In both of the meetings that I've reported on today, the rest of the things were about practical stuff to do with what's happening in the buildings. The town hall and the marina got a few little snaggets along the way, which they're trying to work their way round. Some of them have got cost implications, but I guess we knew that was going to happen. Both the buildings are fairly elderly, aren't they? And no doubt the unexpected will continue to happen until they're finished. But they seem to be dealing with them okay, so we'll have to just leave that alone and see what happens. I did note in the marina discussion that there does seem to be a little bit of doubt creeping in some minds over whether the end date will be met. There were comments about when they discover new things that need to be done, does this mean they're actually taking existing workers from the building and sort of swapping them onto sort of extra jobs that weren't accounted for in the time management? But it looks like they've actually got that in hand. And when they discover extra work, they're getting extra people on top to try and make sure that the end date meets when the shows recommence. Everybody's being very panicky, I suspect, behind the scenes about the pantomime. And with pantomimes being a money spinner for many theatres, they can't do without it. You can't put on the posh stuff that loses money without the pantomime that makes it. That's the general rule of theatre nowadays. The pantomimes are where the majority of income does come from. It's predictable, it's planned in advance, and you need pantomime, says me, who does pantomimes. But they are, for many theatres around the country, pantomime is what keeps the theatres open. And so the chances of like losing a bit of a pantomime are pretty scary. Certainly for the money people, they're very scary. Anyway, that's today's one. Wendy wanting to get rid of the mayor from being chair of certain meetings. And of course, not even having one person willing to second her. I wasn't surprised, to be honest, but there we go. See you on the next video. Look after yourselves. Take care.